Hey, where you guys been?
The nerve of this guy.
Where have we been?
Where you been? I've been holding down this podcast by myself for weeks.
Brandon, were there cameras?
Possibly.
Okay. And welcome back to Scoundrels, Inc., where we're finally talking about the season 3 finale of The Mandalorian. And boy, what a season it was. What a season finale it was. We're going to talk all about it. But before we do that, we'd really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button. It would really, really help us out. Hit the like button and then leave a comment about what you thought about this season finale, because we want to read them all, or I want to read them all. We all want to read them all and see where we all land, because the internet is a great and happy place, and we can make it so in the comments page, probably, hopefully, I think. If not, we'll figure it out. We're one people.
As Han Solo used to say, make it so.
So this season finale, let's just do overall thoughts. Let's just put that on the table, and then we can go forward what we thought about this season. I don't know if you guys agree with this, but I was thinking, what if we just talked about the season's finale, and then if we do a Monday live stream, we can probably talk about the season as a whole? Or do you want to get into the whole of the season, or is that?
I think we're going to inevitably get into both.
Yeah.
But also we have next week to talk about the season as a whole. Whatever we want to do.
Yeah.
I think we will definitely have a greater conversation later about the series and the season as a whole. So
you can tell we've talked about this before.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I think that we should talk about the season 3 finale.
Yeah.
And I think that bleeds into
some of it.
I think it's hard to talk about.
I think that's true too.
The season and the series as a whole without, or talk about the season 3 finale without talking about the season and the series as a whole.
Right. So my first overall thoughts, though, first watch after it ended, I was still waiting for a post-credit scene that never came. That's fine. I'm cool with that. And
hey, but you know what I found out when I was waiting? Jet Lucas is on the visual effects team.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Look at that. Good for him.
Does he play that one Padawan that?
That
Bail watches him die.
He's like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Do you know his name?
No.
It's Zet Jukasa.
Zet Jukasa?
Zet Jukasa.
Wow. Interesting. They have weird names for characters.
Well, his name's Jet Lucas.
I know, but it's morphed out of that, I guess.
But I'm saying when you start with a weird name, you get an even weirder name.
I mean, yeah, I guess. Okay, well, forget, that's not even about season 3 of Mandalorian. All right, even though he is on the visual effect, which is great. Anyways, I walked away from the season finale looking at the episode. I really enjoyed it. It hit a lot of marks for me. I thought it had a very nice, tidy, happy ending, which I was honestly, after thinking about it I was like kind of relieved that it was a nice little happy ending for Grogu and Din, and just chilling in his little homestead, feet kicked up, and Grogu's playing with the frogs. And I thought it was a really sweet, nice little bow on it. A lot in this season finale, I thought, did touch on stuff from seasons 1 and 2 into 3, particularly like the Gideon thing. I think, overall, are there things that could have been done better or explained more or dived into more? Sure. Is that something that necessarily personally bothers me or, takes away some sort of enjoyment of the season finale? Not really. I've put this out there before that I'm pretty easy to please with Star Wars. And this season finale pleased me so. And I don't know why I'm talking like that. But I will say, after watching it a second time, I was actually probably more emotional on the second view just because I didn't have to worry about anyone betraying whoever. I
kind of regret that I didn't get a chance to watch it a second time.
Oh, really? Okay. I think, well, we'll see. So then what were your initial thoughts on, I guess, from the first viewing?
Very conflicted on this episode. Because I love the episode in a vacuum. The episode on its own, I love. I I think as a greater part of a whole, it feels rushed. Some things feel like they were forgotten about. The season as a whole, to me, feels like it rushes through certain plot lines, dwells on the wrong plot lines, and then forgets others entirely. But I think that if this were the last season of The Mandalorian, I am very satisfied with this ending. Having watched Heroes of Mandalore, the two-part Rebels episodes, in which Bo gets the Darksaber initially, I watched those right before I watched the season finale. This is a very fitting conclusion to that, insofar as Sabine has a line in that she literally says, all of Mandalore used to be green, covered in fields of grass. And in this season, we see the cave with the plant life growing again, right? Like, so this episode, I don't feel like is at all forgetting the past of the series and of Star Wars as a whole. But I do feel like it forgets some things that it set up within its own series, which we'll get to.
Okay. I will say, since you watched those episodes, I actually did watch the first part of the season of Mandalore, Old Friends Not Forgotten, where Ahsoka and Bo-Katan ultimately, head back to Mandalore to go and get Maul. And so it was cool to see Bo-Katan trying to retake Mandalore in that context, in that setting, and then to see it in this episode. I thought it worked pretty well for my viewing experience. Brandon, how did you like, or are you lukewarm on it? Where do you sit on the season finale?
Jet Lucas on it. No, I liked it quite a bit. I always a fan of Rick Famuyiwa's direction in his episodes. The action was really cool. I thought it was overall a satisfying conclusion, but as I was watching it, I felt like, okay, there's definitely going to be people who are unhappy with the fact that, like, some of their fan theories didn't pan out.
Sure.
Or like, it wasn't a big cameo. The episode's called The Return. Nobody returned. Where's Luke Skywalker?
Well, I feel like the episode title makes the most sense because it is the return of Mandalore. Like, I think and I didn't need I didn't need everyone was speculating there was going to be a Thrawn cameo. I don't need it, right? Like, I'm more concerned about other things about Mandalorian culture overall that I feel like were dropped.
Yeah,
although apparently, at least in this household, I'm the minority on that. I don't think I am in the greater Star Wars whole. But
well, when we were talking off camera beforehand, I was more or less working through in real time in discussion with you about a vast array of things pertaining to Children of the Watch and the armor and the helmet stuff, and so I was working through that stuff, and there's still which is to say, I as much as I enjoy the third season and the finale, there's still stuff that I worked through that I'm not super 100% like they nailed it, because I think there's always room for, especially in this season, I do agree there's more can be explained more or delved into. I'm curious why, Jon Favreau made the decisions that he made. If there's behind the
scenes reasons,
if there's more to it,
happening.
because because part of it goes to some of the discourse that was happening on the internet in terms of, if you didn't like a particular episode this season, people were saying, oh, they lost their touch, this, that, and the other, and it's like, well, this is still the same guy.
Yeah, I don't think anyone lost their touch. I think it's a problem. I think that it's always been a problem. Like, I think it's been a problem since the beginning.
Interesting.
And it's just now coming to a head that we're noticing it. Again, I love this show. This is one of my favorite shows on television. And that's why I want to critique it and, ask for better. Not like I'm asking Lucasfilm can be better, but like why I want to discuss, like, hey, this could have, I thought, been handled better.
Sure.
Or this could have been, more thought out.
Brandon, wrap up your overall thoughts. Sorry, man.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, agree with Sean. I think it's had the same problems in all three seasons, where it's like, kind of like at times the story has been all over the place. Certain story elements have been like rushed and things like that, which is like something I've accepted early on, and I don't dwell on it too much. But yeah, overall, like it was almost like fun, like watching this episode and like having like every single like theory going into it debunked, because I'm like, all right, here comes Axe Woves.
I don't
like,
know.
What's he gonna do? Is he gonna reveal himself to be the spy? And I'm like, no, he's like pulling like a little baby Holdo maneuver. I guess he's like a pretty stand-up guy. Yeah. And then like I'm like, all right, but the armorer, where's she at? And then all of a sudden,
crashing a ship, just by it crashing is not a Holdo maneuver.
It's a baby Holdo maneuver.
I don't like this.
Maybe if he was
not
sublight
okay with
engines,
this.
It was not another happy landing.
Yeah, right.
But it was a very bad landing.
It was Arvel Krynen in Return of the Jedi.
baby
A-wing guy.
Oh, that guy.
Little baby Holdo maneuver.
I don't.
The guy in the Oldsmobile. Was that?
But
that goes into the bridge. Is that the?
Yeah, that's the guy in Return of the Jedi. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, oh, where's the armorer? And then I see the armorer in the dropship. I'm like, all right, I guess she's not a spy either. I guess everyone's just like pretty honorable and noble and
Which was a night. That
good
was
people.
nice.
And to be fair, we you weren't there Monday.
Or you were.
You were there. You just weren't wherever we were.
I was on what I thought was the right channel.
Okay.
Okay.
But we discussed like, hey, here are the possibilities for the spy. But also, the armorer could just be going back to be part of the fleet and set up for the next plot line. And Axe Wolves could just be rejoining the fleet and totally normal. So, like, I don't think any of us, at least Frank and I, didn't give a shit about the spy thing.
No.
If anything,
it was fun to talk about for sure.
Yeah.
And it made for interesting conversation. I was never married to any of those theories. The way I was married to my IG-11 theory that I got right at the very beginning. No,
I think we all called the IG-11 thing though.
but I said it first, maybe. I don't know. Anyways,
I was thinking
There's
maybe
a difference.
Din was
There's
the
a difference
spy.
if you declare a theory and everyone goes, "No, that's crazy." And
I guess that's
you
fair,
declare a
but-
theory and everyone goes, "Yeah, I think you're totally right about that. That's the most logical step to happen."
you did. You did. You're like, oh yeah, that would make so. Like you did agree when I said it. So. Well, at least
But
we figured that
I'm
out.
happy that Din Djarin was like, I will single-handedly fight the Imperial Remnant in the Outer Rim, and all I ask in return is that IG head.
Someone get me that guy's arm.
That's, I want that arm. Oh no, leg. Sorry, the rocket. It was like,
Yeah.
I'll
Was
get
it
that.
leg?
I'm gonna get that leg. Yeah. I don't know if that was what you were referencing, but that's
Yeah, that's
okay.
exactly.
No. He says I'm gonna get that arm in Infinity War, but the leg is in the first Guardians.
Oh,
of the
that's
Galaxy.
okay. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. Yeah. So overall thoughts. I think we liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. I absolutely
Sean
loved
loved
it.
it.
Like,
I guess is there a difference between really really liked it and loved it? I
yes,
don't know.
there is.
Oh,
The action was pretty sick.
the
when-
action was phenomenal.
with the haste at which like Axe Woe shows up and he's like, we gotta evacuate now, like reinforcements, and they all just like jump into space. Pretty
So
crazy.
there is a shot in, I don't remember the Rebels episode, but it's the season finale of season 3 of Rebels, which involves a Gauntlet class fighter transport
Interesting.
and Clan Ren dropping out of the Gauntlet.
Oh really?
Yeah, and they're
damn.
doing like it was again. My point about this finale being a spiritual conclusion to a lot of the plot lines set up in Rebels. Like, I didn't. Let me clarify. I didn't watch those episodes of Rebels because I thought those were thematically appropriate. That's where I'm at in my Rebels
Oh,
rewatch.
really? It just happened
that
to be
I
there.
started
Oh, that's cool.
because I started the night the Ahsoka trailer came out. I started watching Rebels, and then this is just where I've gotten to.
That's pretty fun.
So
Great timing.
like
Fortunate
it's
timing.
perfect timing. Like I got to watch Sabine find the saber, and then the Trials of the Darksaber episodes with Fen Rao and Kanan.
Yeah, that was great.
And then Sabine reuniting with her family coming to get the rebels out of Dodge because Mon Mothma says, "I'm sorry, you're gonna have to go fuck yourselves," which I totally forgot about. Fuck you, Mon Mothma.
Dang.
And then the rebels crew and Clan Ren and the Night Owls and Clan Kryze going to try to literally reclaim Mandalore from the Empire.
Dang.
Right? So it's and the conversations that are had where Bo-Katan turns down the Darksaber and Sabine's talking about how like she's not meant to lead, but someone's going to lead, talking about Mandalore's past, like all of this. Look, my thoughts on how stuff's handled in the series are not unfounded in the rest of Star Wars canon. They're also not unfounded with the way that they pay homage to certain parts of Rebels and Clone Wars and then kind of disregard others.
Mm-hmm.
Man, what an episode. I love this. I think this was some of the best action we've had with Mandalorians.
Oh, totally.
One of the issues I think we have in this show is when we get multiple Mandalorians on screen doing jetpack stuff, it looks like they're all wearing a wire. Right? Like it looks like they're kind of just being like floated up and they'll shoot while they're moving and then they'll be set back down.
Yeah, they haven't quite perfected the movement with all like multiple
like
movements.
It doesn't look much better than Boba Fett in Return of the Jedi.
Oh,
jumping
like
from skiff to skiff,
okay,
right?
Okay.
So I will say I think this episode fucking nails it with the action, with the jetpack action.
Especially when they're clashing in the cave.
Yeah,
the
that's
way they
amazing.
shot that and how they were able to convey speed and motion with those shots. I mean, like it was like animation meets comic book meets but live action. It was very much like a you've seen Kung Fury, right?
Yeah.
Like some of that, like coming through, like the falling action stuff.
Yeah,
kind of gave me that similar vibe. If you've seen Kung Fury, like I don't know how else. There's other.
I get.
out
Here's
there
my problem now. I get Kung Fury and Kung Pao mixed up.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen Kung Pao.
I have not, so I don't.
You should
have
watch
that
Kung
issue.
Pao. Yeah. I think it's handled really well. The stuff with the armor and Bo doing the like melee strikes.
Oh my God.
With the jetpacks. People were joking about like all the Mandalorians sliding and whatever. Like, I don't know, man. If I'm going from like aerial momentum to trying to utilize ground cover, guess what? I'm gonna do that by sliding. I'm sorry.
There was a sequence with Bo-Katan where she's jetpacking, slides across the floor.
It's Casca.
That was Casca?
Yeah.
Okay. And then because she does like the
She
knee
does
rockets.
the ankle darts.
I
wrote in my notes.
I thought that was Bo also
I thought it was
with the knee darts.
Yeah.
No, I think it's Casca.
Okay.
I don't know. I was
Either way,
there was a lot of
fucking
sunlight.
dope.
I could be wrong.
reflecting
I
on
could be
my
wrong.
TV,
Either way.
So I don't know.
Regardless, I thought it was so sick, that sequence.
I say I love anytime we get knee darts because Boba Fett. Is,
I did.
Yeah.
I like knee dart. I was like, I pointed it out like a noob, and I was like, hell yeah, knee darts.
It's one of those dumb things from like the old visual dictionaries and visual guides where they'd go like, "Oh, those are Boba Fett's knee darts," and you go, "What the fuck's a knee dart?"
How would that work? Yeah.
Like, how does that work? And then we've seen them twice now or 3 times
Boba
now, and either Casca or
Casca
Bo.
or
Apparently,
Bo.
I didn't rewatch the episode, so I don't know.
Apology accepted, Captain Knee Dart.
Oh lordy. Okay.
Anyways, guys, thanks for coming.
Appreciate you hitting that subscribe button, like, and leaving a review, all that good stuff. Yeah. So the action I thought was just incredible from the Mandalorian main battle, if you will, within the cave. I thought it was exceptional.
The scene of Din fighting through Rey's shield layer.
That was cool.
Very cool.
Is
very
really
video
good.
gamey to me, but I liked it for that reason.
It reminded me of something, but I couldn't like place it. It was a little bit video gamey, but it reminded me almost of like Daredevil.
Oh yeah,
Like
like the
Netflix Daredevil?
hallway,
The
like
hallway scene?
stuff. Yeah, that's yeah.
I like
it is a hallway.
The
of sorts.
stormtroopers, like they don't only just wear Beskar armor, but they have the flamethrowers and like
Oh,
the,
yeah.
the
Yeah.
wire.
They're totally
Well,
cosplaying.
I
as
would have
Mandalorians.
liked.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have found out who they were, if they were stormtroopers or if they were something else.
I think they're just like stormtroopers.
See, my brain goes to
like
clone.
repurposed,
You
like
think that they're like all Moff Gideon?
I don't think they're all
clones?
Moff Gideons. I don't think they're all Moff
because they were
Gideons.
different heights.
Could you imagine they all take off their helmets and they go Dark Trooper, Dark
Oh my
Trooper,
gosh.
Dark
They
Trooper.
do the Ray thing, but they just
Yeah.
just like
The Mandalorian.
Dark Trooper.
yeah. So the action, but the episode, I like that it leaves off or starts right where we left off, basically, and it's with Din
Sure.
getting dragged, and I was like, oh boy, because look, I had read a lot of stuff, and it kind of got to me, and not in a way.
You thought Din was going out.
Well, here's what I'll say about everything I was reading, and the conversation we're having about the spies and all that. It actually, from my first viewing, it actually played into the enjoyment of the episode of like having this anticipation of something horrible happening to our heroes or whatnot, and when is the armor going to turn, or is axe? So it kind of gave me this anticipation. It kept me on edge, which added to my enjoyment of the episode with the first watch. And I was like, it actually made it a lot more fun for me.
Okay.
The way that, because of everything I had consumed, wrongfully or rightfully, whatever, it turns out, I guess it was fine for me, but it could be worse for others. I don't know. But I was like, this is really working for me, and I'm glad they're all wrong.
So I kind of had a moment. I hit play on the episode because it aired a little early.
It did actually.
Did it?
Yeah, like 10
yeah.
minutes early. I think they're worried about like a server.
It was
thing.
like 15 minutes early. Well,
Yeah,
they've done that a few times with like big episodes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it aired a little early. I hit play, hovered over the runtime, and went, "Oh, we're not getting anything we thought we're getting." Because if it was only like a 35-minute episode.
It said 41, so it's probably around 35.
Yeah, it's 41
maybe.
41 with 2 minute previously on.
Was it how long it was?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And-
yeah, because I've been skipping them, so I don't even.
So once you get through all that, it's a pretty short episode. So I'm like, okay, we're just gonna have fun this episode. Like that's fine.
Yeah.
We're not hitting anything heavy. We're not gonna have a spy. We're not gonna have anyone turncoat. Like, okay, we're just going. Like Din's fine. Din's surviving.
That one I never really bought into, but there were a couple of things out there
you know
that
what?
were like, you know what? Ooh.
I didn't buy into it, and I will say I think most people that I saw speculating on it, I don't think they were bought into it either. I think they were all saying that it would be a really bold choice that makes sense. That would make sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think eventually I think it will make sense. I just wasn't like, I don't know if I can buy
Sure.
it right now.
I think I could have. I mean, the ending would have been different, and I think it would have been fine. But
Grogu would have been at a funeral instead of a freaking pond. Like,
well, I think Grogu could have. Like, I think you could have definitely seen Grogu and Bo-Katan, in an ending on Mandalore in the throne, like them sitting in the throne room, or her teaching Grogu something. Like that's what you do the fade out on instead of
Grogu on the throne.
I don't think we would see Grogu on the throne. I mean, like maybe sitting on the arm of the throne.
yeah.
But
On the Sith throne? On Exegol?
I don't.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think that's what we would
He's
get.
like raising his little arms up to the crowd, like, yeah.
Just all the adoration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grogu.
I don't think there's
Lightning
context.
comes out.
I don't think there's context clues for any of that.
What? Yeah, I don't know. I think
I don't know, man.
This other show you were on, I think, really messed with you, man.
There's something about a mind flayer. I don't really know.
Oh my
They said it
gosh.
was a soothing experience.
Like ultimately, I think it would have made sense, but we didn't get that, and that's totally fine. I didn't need any of that. I prefer what we got to what we speculated.
Totally.
Yeah.
So Din, he has a tough fight against those two Storm Gideon's troopers. I'm just gonna call them because they're never officially named.
Super Commandos.
Super Commandos.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a great fight because, like, yeah, he's not gonna be like, take him out instantly. This isn't, he's still a rough and tough type of. He's no skill. I mean, he is skilled, but not like John Wick, like boom, 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 you're done type of thing. So I did like that it was really gritty, and that Grogu comes in and kind of lends a helping hand, if you will, and that was really, really cool. And I cheered at that moment. I was like, hell yeah, Grogu.
I think that's the one prediction that everyone kind of was like, yeah, obviously Grogu's going to go try to save Din in the IG suit.
It just happened in a different way than I
I think it happened in a much better way.
Or even sooner than I thought it would happen, rather.
I prefer this where they got to work together.
Yeah.
Because it's our first time seeing them really work together and acknowledge that, like, yeah, even though Grogu's a child, like he's
got skills. He's got some skills.
He can hold his own.
Yeah.
And I like Din says something along the lines of like, you have to be brave. Like,
I need you to be brave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like that.
And he makes like a little noise. He's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he stops hitting the buttons even though he had opportune time to go yes or no to a lot of those statements. He stops hitting the buttons because he knows like that's going to give us away.
And there was I did notice like a lot of their communications where, because Din nods a lot.
Yeah.
Grogu starts really reciprocating, and like nodding, like there were like little subtle nods, but you could see them, and I thought that was a really cool way to have Grogu communicate, but not through IG-12. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you think Din was gonna be a little bit longer in captivity and get mind flayed or whatever?
I guess I didn't put too much thought into it. At one point, I was like, "What if Din's the spy?"
Oh my gosh!
Sure.
I'm like, all right,
That's why he gets pulled away, so he's not in the massacre.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh!
What his motive would have been, I have no idea. But
but then he would have given Gideon the Darksaber. Or I guess then Gideon would be giving it to Bo so that Gideon could win it via combat from Bo.
I mean, the plan would be to like pluck it off her dead body, but they didn't think she was going to escape because they don't really plan very well.
So we have this whole
Should have made the doors out of Beskar, guy. What the hell? You got so much of it.
We see Bo-Katan and the Night Owls follow the surviving Mandalorians down into like a flourishing cave.
Yeah.
And this plants, pun intended, the seeds of that Mandalore is returning to what it once was, its like natural state of vegetation and whatnot. And the guy goes on to explain like, oh no, it just needs room to grow, you know?
Well, and he says, she says, oh, you found this. He said, no, we planted it.
Oh yeah, right. The cultivated.
And then he says, they're all old species indigenous to Mandalore that have been dormant for centuries.
Yeah, so I think that really plants the idea that when we come back to Mandalore, whenever that's going to be, we're going to see a completely, I think at least, a transformed Mandalore that's going to look, I think, maybe like the Mandalore we saw in Clone Wars and...
no, in Clone Wars, it's the same.
No, I'm saying like, it won't be so like... the plant won't be so like dome cities might not be that, but more vegetation incorporated into a more natural type of
but like
thing.
even in Clone Wars, there's no plant life on Mandalore.
Yeah. I'm saying like you'll see plant life, but with kind of like merging of what we saw in Clone Wars and the plant life.
I think we'll see Jack Black and Lizzo there on a diplomatic mission.
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so.
I don't know. They said they'd be an ally, so.
I won't be surprised if Jack Black and Lizzo don't show up on Mandalorian
I won't be
ever
again.
again.
Yeah.
But they'll be in the movie.
Oh my God! Could you people? I think there would be people who would walk out just out of their pure.
They'll be like, "We're recruiting people to fight Grand Admiral Thrawn. Would you join us?" And he goes,
and then after that little scene, then they take off, right? And they because at this point, Axe Woves,
Casca Woves, Axe Reeves, yeah.
Oh my gosh, the names. Because Axe Woves is getting hammered by TIE interceptors and bombers on the ship. I did like the shot where the gauntlets and all the other Mandalorian ships are going down to the surface, and then through the clouds here come the TIE interceptors and bombers. I think that was a really cool cross. I thought we were gonna get some some atmospheric battle there.
Yeah, I don't think the budget allowed for it. Honestly, is probably what the issue is.
So they would have gotten smoked anyway.
Because there were a bunch of Fang fighters there that we never got to see in action.
Yeah.
Kind of a bummer.
But after that, then you had the reinforcements, right? And that's when they go down. That's when they start into the cave. And at this point, I believe like Din and Grogu have gone through the 7 gates of hell or whatever.
And R5 was there.
Yeah.
R5, what a gangster in this episode. I did love that, he also has some rocket boosters via R2, not via R2, but a la R2D2. That was cool. The mouse droid, being a cop, basically.
I do appreciate that his the help he went to go get was just more mouse droids.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was just a whole platoon of mouse droids.
Like, all right, all the stormtroopers are preoccupied.
Gotta get my other rat's nest of droids over here. But I did like that R2 or R5 was acting like R2 and New Hope. I saw a lot of people talk about A New Hope vibes, and this is definitely kind of that, especially when you're going through the Death Star.
Or R2 and everything else.
Oh yes,
right?
Yeah. Cloud City, whatever.
Cloud City, or on the Grievous's flagship, whatever that's called.
Visible hand, guy.
hand.
Invisible
Yeah,
hand.
that's right. That's right. Especially that part. Yeah, I think that one more akin to what R5 was doing. That was great. Yeah, I'm glad R5 had a little something to do, and that he wasn't a spy.
Right.
Still might be.
Yeah, he still might be.
So Din makes it through the barriers, and then we find out
The clones.
what's going on with the clones.
They're cloner.
They are more clones of Gideon.
Which I was like, this makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that had also been theorized beforehand.
Well, I think what someone had theorized was that they wouldn't be direct clones of Gideon because the only person he would think could defeat him is himself.
Oh, sure.
Which, like, clearly he doesn't give a fuck. He's just like,
Yeah.
no, they're me. They're me with the one thing I lack: force sensitivity.
Force.
Um,
Yeah, and I was like, well, yeah, this totally all makes sense why he wanted Pershing, why he wanted Grogu, because he wanted to give himself, or his clones rather, the Force. I don't know if he was trying to give himself the Force at all, ever.
Maybe.
Well, he says his exact quote is, "I was isolating the potential to wield the Force." So, who knows?
maybe
Does feed into my theory with Ahsoka, though.
maybe he thinks if he can give his clone the Force, then he could somehow give himself the Force.
Probably. I mean,
Give me those midichlorians with my same blood type. Let's go.
yeah, maybe. But I was like, I like that kind of concluded what we had seen, or starting to wrap up what we had seen on Navarro previously.
Now, I will say, I think it's kind of a cop-out to establish that, like, hey, there was a possibility that we saw Force-wielding Gideon as a villain, and we didn't. They're just like, nope, sorry, they're dead. Whatever, right? Like, I don't know, man. If you're going to introduce that concept,
well,
show it. Show, not tell.
Would have been exhausting though, huh? Like again with this guy. Now he is the Force.
Okay, but you didn't have to. But we didn't have to have like regular Gideon as the villain. You just have.
I know that, like, I'm still, like, I guess you could read it both ways, that those clones did in fact have Force capabilities, or
He does say that those were his what he was working on, and that they were almost ready.
They were almost
killed
ready.
them.
Yeah.
You killed them before they drew breath.
drew their first breath, right?
Yeah.
Which is what I'm saying is, like, was he saying that he succeeded in giving them the Force, or that we were so close to giving them the Force, but now you've
they
destroyed
had the
my.
Force.
He implied that he succeeded, but they weren't alive yet, so who knows, right?
Yeah.
They were so valuable. Why would he leave them unattended, though? That was
They
pretty-
weren't unattended.
They were a little.
They were
unattended.
guarded by, like,
They were a
They
little
were guarded by like
unattended.
6 ray shields and a bunch of super commandos.
Yeah.
Well, little unattended.
And also the security panel or whatever terminal, like, Din could just boop 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 boop. Grogu, get out of there. Psh, 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 you know,
Well, sure. I mean, once you're in there,
once you're in there.
Pretty unattended once
yeah.
you're in there.
So, like, I thought that was.
I
thought
don't.
that- what did you say?
I thought they were a little unattended. I don't know why he's hiding out behind
There
them.
were 8 super commandos between anyone and the clone chamber.
They were all so naked, so they were giving them the privacy that they needed.
I don't know, man.
But I totally knew that one of the Gideons were going to open their eyes when Grogu went up there.
Yeah.
I was like, wait for
Spooky.
it, and it spooks Grogu. But then we get Gideon. We get on that platform, whatever, and here comes Gideon in that badass Dark Trooper / Mandalorian inspired type of suit. Not gonna lie, this thing, I really want this Black Series figure of this Gideon.
I want the
model.
Black Series helmet when it comes out.
Oh my God, can you imagine? Oof, a lot of good stuff here. Man, I was again, because I had read this stuff, I was so worried for Din in this battle, because I know Din can take out Gideon, but Gideon is in a Dark Trooper suit with Beskar alloy, and he's mechanized. It seemed like as well, because you heard like the
it's
motors
power.
running.
It's power.
Yeah, it's a
armor.
power. It's kind of like an Iron Man suit of in the Star Wars universe, if you
Yeah,
will.
there's no way he crushed the Darksaber with his bare hands.
Yeah, well,
He's been doing the hand clamp thing a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the reason it's a Dark Trooper suit and not just a Mandalorian armor suit is that it has, it's strength enhancing power armor. So, yeah, it was kind of like, I don't know, Din and Bo, both do not have a good time against Gideon.
They do not.
Right?
I was worried for both of them because I was like,
Yeah.
Wait, are they gonna? Is Bo gonna die?
I thought that was a possibility too, but no.
Well, because like I said, I was feeding myself all these wild theories, and it was really playing into this: will they or won't they make it out alive? And the part that Grogu shows up then with
Grogu fights the Praetorians. Which the Praetorians...
how did you feel about how Grogu was separated from Din and Din being held back and then and being in this enclosure with the Praetorian guards?
I kind of would have liked to have seen Grogu hold his own a little better, personally. Right? Like, ultimately, the Praetorians aren't... They're really highly trained swordsmen, right? I think Grogu in the IG... Like, the Praetorians aren't that much of a bigger deal to me than the Mandalorian Super Commandos.
Okay.
Right? At least in my head, the Super Commandos have guns and vibroblades and flamethrowers and jetpacks. The Praetorians have electro staves and electro swords. I don't know, man.
Okay.
Like, I like what came of it.
I think they could have moved a little quicker. I'll say that if I'm being nitpicky.
Yeah.
I think they could move a little quicker, but also I was pretty amped to see Grogu just jumping around and like evading them. I thought it was cool. I thought it was really cool.
And I think ultimately what we got with a fight with Din and Grogu and the Praetorians, I think was worth the like, oh look, IG-11 is destroyed already, or IG-12.
Yeah, IG-12. Yeah. It was because they sliced that thing up pretty good, and he bounces out of there and starts jumping around the top. Brandon, how many times did Grogu say during this fight? Do you know? Did you keep count?
2 or 3.
2 or 3.
Yeah.
2 or 3. Were you worried for Grogu here, or
No?
No, you were like
He's got plot armor. He's good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fair. What did you think of the fight?
I liked it. I thought it was cool seeing like the way it was just all choreographed with like Din and Grogu working together and like any moment where like Din was like about to get like hit or like stabbed or something, Grogu was like there to like force push.
Right.
And it's just like I thought it was well executed.
I agree.
The only thing I kind of wish, but I'm glad they also didn't do this, was if Grogu would use the Force to pick up one of their weapons.
They're too big.
To like,
They're way too big for him. Because there was a moment.
I mean, he picked up a mudhorn.
Oh, you mean like just pick up the weapon
and use the Force to like impale the Praetorian.
I guess. Okay.
I'm like, that would be a little too.
I thought you meant like grab the. Yeah, because there was a moment that was set up that like he pulls the electro sword out of one of their hands.
Yeah,
and then it comes off screen towards the direction Grogu was. So it looks like they were kind of doing that for a second.
Yeah.
But I think that would.
I think it would have been like I would have been like, holy shit, if he like actually took out a Praetorian guard.
Yeah,
that would have
been cool.
I would have been like, whoa. But then with the help of Grogu, obviously was able to take him down. Which is another reason why I was really worried for Din, because they set up the Praetorians. Look, granted, Paz Vizsla just fought like 40.
Yeah,
troopers,
he was
right?
already
so he was
injured.
like he was drained by that time, right? And so Din could hold his own for so long against these Praetorian guards because they're supposed to be elite,
well, he couldn't
right?
have alone.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Like he could only last so long by himself before these skilled warriors, these Praetorian guards would eventually take him out, especially when there's 3 to his 1, right? So I thought the fight was well choreographed and very exciting and very fun. One of my favorite Grogu Din moments for sure. Yeah.
Then we get Gideon crushes the Darksaber.
How do we feel about this?
So I cheered. I audibly cheered when that happened. But again, I kind of been doing a rewatch of this stuff, and I will reestablish like I am probably the foremost expert on all this Mandalorian bullshit in canon. Like, I've fucking looked into it a little too much. If so it, like the Darksaber is a source of conflict more than anything. It has not ever brought about a good outcome until this season, which again is kind of where I go, hey, this season is a miss because the Darksaber is not supposed to be a positive force. it is a negative force, this weapon, right? It was built by, like its history is shrouded in bloodshed and darkness and derision. It is not a positive force. For some reason, this season paints it as a positive force, right? Great, yay, wonderful, whatever. It's a good thing that it is destroyed. It is good for Mandalore. It is good for Bo-Katan, ultimately, because Bo-Katan is still going to be afforded the respect that she deserves.
Yeah, I think the Darksaber was such a, in terms of how it was used within the Mandalorian culture. I was like, man, this thing has got to go. Just because it meant, and Axe said this to Bo, he's like, you won't even take it off of Din. And I don't want Bo-Katan and Din to fight. I don't want, one to potentially die. Like, that doesn't make any sense if we're trying to restore the Mandalorian, Mandalore and the Mandalorian people again. Like, fighting each other to bring each other together, that doesn't make any sense. And so, I was surprised that it happened, but at the same time, then I was like, good, I'm glad it's gone. Although I was still slightly worried what the rest of the Mandalorians might think of Bo-Katan, because she was in possession of it, and then it was destroyed, with as the owner of the saber. So I don't know if somewhere down the line that's ever a thing. I doubt it. But certainly, in that moment, I was thinking all like these crazy things of, oh, what could this mean? What could this mean? What could this mean? But overall, I think, it's so shrouded in violence and division that it has no place in restoring Mandalore, even though, it was a symbol of, if you have it, if you wave it around, they will follow you. And I think that's kind of a really silly notion. And I'm glad that it's gone, although I guess I don't know if I prefer it happened at Gideon's hands rather than it should have happened through Bo-Katan saying to her people or whatever, being more authoritative in terms of. I just think it would come more from because I actually do agree with this in terms of I watched Alex's review, and I was like, all this stuff happened to Bo, and she accidentally joins a cult. She's given the Darksaber, right? If she was the leader would have decided, this isn't what determines the leader. This Darksaber does not determine who leads Mandalore. I can lead you. This, it's a silly thing. And so I think if she had a little more agency in what the Darksaber role would have played, I think might have played a little better. The Gideon thing is fine. I'm fine with that, but I think it might have been a little more. I wonder if it had been a little more interesting if it was handled differently.
I think that the character moment is very important of, Gideon gloating and saying, now what are you without the Darksaber? And she says, Mandalorians are stronger together.
I did like that, yes.
And that's where, because that shows that she's learned something, that she doesn't need the Darksaber because it's more about her people and her culture coming together. So, discussion for another time, but that was a good example of them using these cultural divides and showing development through those cultural divides that I feel like the rest of the season was lacking.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, overall, I like, especially with that explanation of we're stronger together. I like that. And so my fleeting thought of I wonder if it could be handled differently, which is, it is what it is. I don't really care that much, which is the thought I had. Because I do like what, she was like, it don't matter. And because even Gideon's in that fight, he's like, you guys are nothing without your trinkets. And it's just well, maybe, but we're still stronger together. Sure. As long as we're all together, we're going to be stronger than you with or without, a flamethrower or whatnot.
Darksaber.
Yeah, Darksaber. Thoughts on the Darksaber and its demise.
I was surprised to see its demise.
Okay.
That rhymed. But I think it is a good metaphorical transition into the next era of Mandalore and what it means to be a Mandalorian, and it represents they're moving past their own internal conflict and disagreements with one another for the greater good of their people.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And now Axe.
Well said.
So at this point, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this point, Axe is like, "Yo, I'm coming in hot."
Yeah.
Literally, I'm on fire.
They just got out of there
Yeah.
too. They were like, whoosh.
I
And then
was,
Grogu with the Force, man.
dude. I did not see that coming.
No,
I did not.
Well, they're all gonna
I was
die?
like, well, I didn't think that either. But I was like, how are they gonna get out of this? It never
They all
dawned on
have. They all
me.
have jetpacks.
Well, I mean, that's yeah, that's true. They could have just done that. He could have just grabbed because Din did grab one of the super
Din
commandos.
had one of the. What happened to Din's jetpack?
I think they removed
Yeah,
it
in
when they
the previous episode, remember he was like disarmed
abducted him,
and
yeah.
that's when he took off his gauntlets.
because Din has not had his jetpacks for a few. There's been a few times where Din should have a jetpack and doesn't.
He didn't.
So I don't know. Anyway,
But at the end of when he was captured by Gideon, if you will, he said disarm him. That's when they took off the whistling birds,
the gauntlets, and
the back and the jetpack, my backpack.
I will say the jetpacks are the same pattern as the Mandalorian Super Commandos from Rebels, which is what Sabine's jetpack is. Which is pretty cool.
Real quick, speaking of jetpacks, though, I thought it was a great shot when the armorer drops out from the ship, and turns on her jetpack, and poof, she goes. I was like, great imagery.
Yeah. Well, and Bo lighting the Darksaber as she's
Oh
flying.
hell yeah! It was like, oh hell yeah!
It
Dude.
looks like a shot out of the Tar animation.
Oh yeah, I mean yeah, like that whole sequence coming down felt very Clone Wars-y to me.
Yeah.
which I dug. I was like, this is cool. Like to
It
see
was
it in
like
live action.
it was like Lord of the Rings vibes too, just like these
Totally.
two armies coming together wielding a sword.
Yeah.
Well, there is also a shot of Sabine charging on Heroes of Mandalore Part 1. Sabine has a similar shot with the Darksaber.
Right.
So
Yeah.
The jetpacks are their horses. That should be a T-shirt we make. The jetpacks are their horses.
it should be like the silhouettes of the charging Mandalorians, and it should say "Ride Rohirrim to death, death," and then all the way down the shirt.
Watch. The group. I'm not as well versed in Lord of the Rings, so like that's you two.
No, you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't remember the
I mean, yeah, but also no.
Theoden's
It's
speech,
pretty badass.
the speech of Theoden King.
They
don't memorize it by
They yell
heart.
out death because they really believe that they're all gonna die.
Yeah.
they're fighting as one last like middle finger to Sauron.
Damn, that's
even though they think they're gonna lose.
That's cool.
So they just go, yeah, screw it.
Screw it.
But of course, Bo-Katan wants to live.
Right.
Otherwise, what's the point of saving Mandalore if there's no one to live on it?
Yeah.
Right. Grogu has what can only be described as like a Groot moment.
Well, I will say before that. So the like what's going on before that with Din and Bo and Grogu working together against Gideon is one of my favorite sequences. Like
Definitely.
with Bo interjecting with the shield and Din body blocking and like all that stuff.
Grogu
like
force
it's
shoving
so
the
good.
staff and all that stuff. Yeah.
That I want more of that.
was
Just
very
more
cool.
of that. Because now we're fine. Like this was the first time we really see Grogu kind of like be proactive almost. Like usually it's like, oh, here's one thing I do or two things I do or three things I do. And then I sit down.
right.
And I will say the moment when the flames clear and Grogu's holding back the flames.
Damn, dude.
That fucking hits, man.
The score that's like the
Oh,
same
man.
for like the ending of season 2.
I love Grogu's theme.
Yeah.
I really do. It's a really sweet, endearing theme, and Ludwig did a great job originally orchestrating that. I know.
Frank, it's Ludwig.
Okay, Mr. Goranson.
So I'm pronounced Joseph Shirley.
Yeah, Joseph Shirley did a great job too.
It's Goranson.
Good lord. Oh, I'm off the show. I can't.
Jet Lucas or Jetpacks? You just
I'm gonna go with Jetpacks.
Jetpack
Wow.
Lucas, right?
well, there would be no Jetpacks without Jet Lucas because
How do you figure?
if he did the VFX,
my God.
how many of those were practical? You tell me.
They would have gotten someone else to do the VFX.
Eventually, next man up mentality over there.
Well, I was
probably.
just saying. I mean, if you need someone to do Jetpacks, you get a guy named Jet.
I mean,
Do you think that's what he did?
I don't know.
Okay. You should have just said yes.
But yes, the Grogu moment I thought was amazing. Great imagery. That's going to be a poster somewhere or on a T-shirt. That's going to be everywhere, right? Love that moment. And that took a lot of force, a lot of the force from him to do. So he just, after that, he's just like, okay, I've been tossing people around for 20 minutes. And then I did that. I'm gonna take a little seat here.
It's like, anybody got one of those frog lady eggs?
Right. So then we start doing this whole. This is where I think also I have a little bit of a nitpick in terms of the speed in which we start wrapping up the episode. Because I was listening to Christian Harloff's review.
Heard of him.
And he did say, hey, look, I would have liked to have seen a scene between Bo-Katan and Din and Grogu before they leave off. I was like, you know what? Yeah. When I was watching the episode, I didn't feel that way, or after I was over with, even on the second rewatch, I didn't think that. But when you bring it up, I'm like, you know what? That would have made sense.
Yeah.
That would have been nice to see. Be like, hey, I don't know how that conversation would have went, but it would have been nice, right? And again, it kind of does play into the kind of what you've been saying, like some things are sped up and whatnot. And that's a little point of criticism that I think, that would have been nice. What do you guys think about how this whole ending started unfolding?
Yeah, I mean, I like the ending. I appreciate that he went back to, I don't know that planet, the Resistance, the Rebel base.
Oh, right, I forget.
New Republic base, whatever.
Oh, shoot, I forget what it's called.
I liked that shot. That was a cool little scene.
Yeah.
The ending was good.
I think Peter Ramsey was also there too now, the other director from previous episode.
I don't know.
As next to Dave Filoni and whoever else, I forget.
I don't know. I appreciate Dave had his hat on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he goes to Navarro, and we see IG-11, and he looks good, like the red markings. And then he goes to the cabin and scene. I don't know. It was a fitting ending.
Yeah.
For a series ending. It felt like a series ending.
It definitely gave that vibe.
Which again is where a lot of my problems come in, that it feels like a series ending. Because I'm okay with this being a series ending. Because I think that for me, it almost feels like they're signaling, okay, this part of the story's done. We're moving on to something completely outside of what we've done before. We're going a little bit back to season 1 where it's episodic and going to be pulpy. But we're done with the rest of these stories. This is a concluded plot line. That's why I'm not okay with the statement of like, well, we don't know where they're going to go in the future. I'm like, no, I kind of do know. They very much said like, okay, we're done with this plot line. We're moving forward. Right?
Yeah. And it's also, I feel like it's also set up in that scene with Carson Teva in terms of like, he's like, I'm going to be more selective in terms of my missions and what I do, because he's like, basically he's going to be an independent contractor for the New Republic, which is kind of funny to think about it in those terms. And it's like, I know season 4 is written, and it was probably written in the speed in which it was done because of the impending writer's strike that's going to be happening. So they got it written down so they can do pre-production, whatever, blah, blah, blah. All that technical behind the scenes stuff, probably. I don't know.
I didn't know there was a writer's strike coming.
Oh, yeah, at the end of the month. It's going to happen. More than likely. They voted to authorize it, whatever. So I think with that in mind, it's like, well, maybe Din and Grogu pop up for like 5 minutes in Ahsoka. Maybe they pop up for a scene in Skeleton Crew. I feel like that like they've kind of set it up to where they can do that because it's kind of been established here in these final scenes. I do wonder about what it means for season 4 and what type of story they could tell. Whether, God bless you, whether that could be, if it's more of a Mandalore story the way season 3 felt like for me, or as opposed to a Din Grogu story the way it was in like seasons 1 and 2. I don't know what it's going to look like. I am interested in what that could be. I don't know, Brandon. How did you think it all wrapped up for you?
I liked the ending overall. I liked the way it kind of like did that little like closing in.
The iris out. Yeah.
That was charming. I just can't help but like that scene with Carson Teva. I just can't help but like continue to laugh at the incompetence of the New Republic. We're just
Sure,
like,
yeah.
hey, thanks for taking out Moff Gideon for us. He only had a massive fleet and army with Beskar armor that
Well,
were
he
just
doesn't have a massive fleet.
pretty massive compared to like the New Republic has like what 3 X-wings
I don't know.
like that we've seen. I don't know.
Sure.
But
They got like 5.
I
And
what
got
are
some
they
Y
doing?
wings.
What are they doing?
They're
Nothing.
hanging out at the bar,
they
man.
Just drink at that bar, and just like there's like they know there's a massive Imperial presence in the Outer Rim, and like they're just like, yeah, so we're just gonna continue to demilitarize, right? And it's like, what about you, Luke Skywalker, who could single-handedly take out a whole battalion of Dark Troopers? He's like, I gotta train all these little kids in the way of the Force. I don't have time to fight the Imperial Remnant. Sorry, that guy, he can do it. And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I hate to say it, but that's how you get a story told, right? Like, and again, this goes back to my whole overall issues
like-
with the series. It's
yeah.
like I'm okay with that because that's how you tell the story.
And
Right?
and like I'm not like I don't want to like sound like I'm like complaining or that I'm like, oh, so much better in Legends, but like it's interesting to see how there's like a lot of good stuff that we see that they're like pulling from, especially with like the Ahsoka show and like Heir to the Empire. But it's interesting to see. It's like, all right, like we don't want to like recast, and obviously like Mark Hamill looks a lot different now than what he's supposed to look like during this time period, so we can show him in little bits. But it's like, you know, how do we fill in that Luke Skywalker role in the New Republic? And it's like we see Din taking up some of that role, and then we see Ahsoka taking up some of that role, and it's just interesting to see them kind of like fill in those gaps with different characters.
Yeah.
Which I think is why we probably haven't gotten a lot of stories between Return of the Jedi, because there's just like, how do we do this? Like,
Animated.
It's a big old can of worms, right?
Yeah.
Like, and what remains to be seen. I'm in addition to rewatching Rebels, I just finished the original Thrawn trilogy today.
Oh, okay.
Literally on the way over here.
Nice.
And I started the first X-Wing Rogue Squadron book that
You
I've
shouldn't
never
read
read.
and drive, Sean.
So what?
You shouldn't read and drive.
Well, Brent, it's an audio.
I know that's the way Timothy Zahn intended you to read it.
Yeah, I'm reading Star Wars the way Timothy Zahn intended in LA traffic. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just gonna hit my point real quick.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it in depth another time. But like this season as a whole, it just feels like it kind of ignores stuff that's set up in the previous 2 seasons. It feels really rushed. It feels like they just kind of sideline character development in favor of pulpy action, which the first 2 seasons don't do.
Right.
The first 2 seasons are very much a pulp, that 1950s, 1920s pulp action, Flash Gordon serial show. That's great. They don't do that in lieu of character development. This season, for me, does that in lieu of character development. And when it does have the character development, it's the last 10 minutes of an episode that also had Doc Brown and Lizzo. Right?
And
I like that episode, but I'm a little disappointed that the main things that happened in the story happen in the last, and 10 minutes is probably generous, 7 minutes of the episode, right? I'm a little disappointed that that's where we're getting our character development, our plot development, and our story development for something that, in all honesty, probably more than it should, matters to me, right? Like, this is something that I give a shit about and I care about, and it's being relegated to the back ends of episodes that are fun episodes, but their only purpose is to be a fun episode for you to go, hey, look, Jack Black and Lizzo, right? You cut that episode out, you don't lose much. You lose a little bit of character development between Din and Bo, with Din dealing with his hatred of droids that was kind of already resolved in a previous season. Like, and a little bit of Bo realizing, oh, Din's kind of a loose cannon, and Din realizing, oh, Bo, like, is good at this. Like, you could have shown those a different way and given more credit to these important story development points that are forgotten. These issues of, the Children of the Watch and the issues of, should I remove my helmet and all this stuff. Like, I'm sorry, this is the important thing about the show. These are the main themes and the main thrusts of your show. If those are getting dropped so we can see, robot spider thing fight Din, and then we Elder Wand the fucking Darksaber, like, it all works for me, but it could work so much better. And it almost feel like it just all feels rushed, right? Like, that's kind of my issue. It just feels rushed. It feels very rushed that the armor is just like, oh, well, you know what? 2 episodes ago, she mentioned the mythosaur, so I guess now take off your helmet, and she lives in both worlds, despite the fact that I have a hardline religious view that says one thing. I'm all for religions evolving, but that's not what I think we saw here. We don't know what happened. Mm-hmm. It's just suddenly a change of heart, and it's not explained or talked about or discussed. Right?
Yeah, I wonder, like, listening to all you saying that, it makes me wonder then, like, what does the show then want? Does the show
what does the show want us to
say?
Right.
Like, if it doesn't want to be, if it wants to be this fun show, then I guess we just have to come to terms that that's what the show wants to be. That doesn't mean your concerns or your critiques are unfounded. It just means that, well, I guess this is what the show is. This is how they're choosing to go about it. They don't feel like they want to delve into some of the deeper, lingering armor.
But if that was the case, they wouldn't have delved into it in previous seasons. Well, in dramatic and meaningful ways, they did deal with it in previous seasons.
I guess I know what you're saying there. I guess what I'm saying is, let's touch on it, but we don't have to go that deep with it. Sure. And like, sure, does it with that? Then your critiques are completely valid in the fact that, well, then they really don't explore it. So why do that?
Why present it?
Yeah, why present it? So I think that's completely valid. But again, like what you're saying, it does make me question. Well, then, what does the show really want to say about some of these aspects that they did touch on that they just
again, it is also possible that those were incidental and not on purpose, right?
Oh, sure.
That's like, hey, here, this is a cool character. We're not trying to say anything about it. That's possible too, but I don't know if there's because let's be clear here, none of us are fandom menace. Fucking Lucasfilm ruined stuff. They don't take it serious. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is there's a large portion of overtly positive, frankly, Star Wars shills that are scratching their heads at this show, going like,
yeah.
Hey, when you have the fucking the people that are looked at as Star Wars shills, and I'm using the term in a positive here, because I'm one of them. I'm a fucking Star Wars shill. Sorry,
I've said I'm easy to please. What more?
When you have the Star Wars shills going, hey, there's something missed here. I feel like you're doing something wrong, right?
I would say I'm someone who likes to give more benefit of the doubt. So my question is like, why were these decisions made? I don't know if we'll ever get the questions.
It's the same thing.
I mean, yeah. I don't know if we'll ever get the answers of, well, how come?
I don't think so.
I think one of the things I would love to be answered is kind of talking about the armor is this way, and now Bo-Katan can, it's cool, their helmet's off. I'm cool with that. Now, I'm curious why that switch was flipped, when it was flipped for the armor, and the show doesn't do anything to get into that in terms of what's going on in the armor's head, because we never really spend that much time with the armor in a way that could, where we get a sense of her.
There's not even a 2-minute, you don't even have 2 minutes of dialogue discussing it. I think that's my issue, because I don't need a whole episode dealing with this stuff. I need an extra 2 minutes of dialogue in 1 or 2 episodes discussing it, right? That's all I need to be satisfied, right? Is 2 minutes of fucking dialogue.
Because now like someone like me is sitting here and like, well, they could have been, well, she could be doing this and this could be that, and well, it just could have been she was looking for this sign. Like it's all like speculative,
right? But
right, on my part.
It's so unfounded.
Yeah,
when you especially when you build up what we do know about these characters, which guess what? We're gonna do in a future episode. I'm gonna fucking brutalize this shit when I'm done reading this, watching all this Mandalorian stuff again. Like, it's set up and it's founded, and like, I'm sorry, this was the season to do it. The season when you're dealing with the Mandalorian homecoming and the reconciliation of Mandalorian culture is the season to do it. Not when we come back to Mandalore, because I'm sorry, we're setting up for another pulpy series like Series 1. Like Season 1.
Yeah.
You know?
Which, like, you're talking about going into Season 4?
I'm talking about going into Season 4
yeah.
or future installments when we see them again. Like,
yeah, because
you can't set this up. You can't set this up as like a big issue, because every time we show Din remove his helmet, and again, I don't like, the big deal is not him removing his helmet. Every time we see Din break his creed, it is done in a positive light for a positive reason.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Usually involving Grogu. And then this season, we have no helmet removal. We are slowly moving other characters with strong beliefs and strong faiths otherwise into the creed, which is fine and it's interesting, but that should trigger something that opens debate or discussion or a challenge or, you know, like, what is the good that we see in this belief versus another? That's not something the show wants to ask or question.
Yeah, I think.
But despite the fact that we've asked and questioned it up until this point.
Yeah, it was like, there's a lot of stuff, I think, even when I listen to other shows and whatnot, they're always asking a lot of questions in terms of, what does this mean? What could this mean further on down the road? Or, you know, what are the themes at play here with how this, that, and the other has been played out, and then we get the finale that we got, and it's like, the show is kind of like, but we saw Grogu do the Force, right? So,
right, and which brings me back to my other issue.
Which is like, I love that, but it's also, dang, I think you could have done a little more. I've said that in past episodes we've done covering the season. We're like, yeah, more could be done. I'm not as attached to the Mandalorian lore the way that Sean is, who has really delved into it way more than I have.
Than anyone should.
Be that as it may, it is, yeah, in terms of bringing the Mandalorian culture more to the forefront, would have been nice, with some more explanation in certain areas of the show. But like you said, you know, I still love this series as well, and I'm excited to see what lies ahead for Din and Grogu. And I mean, I'm always gonna be I'm a fan of these characters, right? So I'm always gonna be curious to see what kind of adventures John has in store for them, because he has said in the past that he visions telling stories with these characters for a long time.
This show isn't going anywhere, which again is kind of why, like, I have issue with this, because they're signaling like a phase 2 for the show with this finale.
Yeah, because I even tweeted out, you know, I look at seasons 1. The way I rationalize it in my head is, it's, yeah, you could look at it seasons 1 through 3, but I was like, well, what if I look at it as chapters 1 through 24, and this is a book, and now we're gonna go to a new book. We're gonna start a new book in this Mandalorian series with season 4, and that's how I'm looking at it in terms to sort of, I guess, not like, if the show's not going to delve into some of the other stuff, then like, let me just look at it as 24 chapters of a book. This is the story they told. We're introduced to the characters in season 1. In season 2, they meet up with some new characters and they start establishing this Mandalore plot line. And then season 3 deals with the last 8 chapters of the book deals with the Mandalore plot line,
climax.
and then the climax right of the book, and now it's over, and then hopefully in 2 years we get a new book, right?
Yeah, maybe
And that's
season 4 starts off like book 2, chapter 1.
maybe, right?
That'd be nice.
You know.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, like, because I do think, like, titling your episodes with chapters, I think has to play in part to
Did
how
Obi-Wan
they...
do that?
The what?
Did Obi-Wan do it?
No, I think they just called it episodes.
Yeah, I just think Mandalorian and Book of
Boba,
Boba Fett.
yeah.
It's literally called the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Well, and like I said, clearly, like we've been saying the whole time, like clearly Book of Boba Fett is part of this whole tapestry.
Totally.
Brandon, what'd you think about all that? My bullshit rant.
I think you made a lot of good points. A lot that I don't remember half of it, but I remember nodding my head, going, "I agree with that." Yeah.
Okay.
Lastly, I will say, what was I going to say? And it's going to be lastly, before we get into questions, right? From our Discord, which, by the way, if you ever want to ask us a
Why
question.
don't you get to that, and then I'll worry about all the spiel about the Discord.
Yeah.
Think of your thing.
Oh, what was I going to...
Hey guys, if you ever want to send us questions for the show, you can send them to us on our Discord, which you can find down in the description for this video. We have a bevy of questions that we answer here or on our occasional Monday live streams, occasional weekly. We're not sure yet. We'll keep you posted. There will be one this Monday, Brandon.
Don't look at me.
Why
Do you
not?
not want to do Monday live streams?
I got my own show going.
You
on
son of
Mondays?
a
It's not
bitch.
my fault you guys don't show up.
You're the spy.
I'm the spy.
You got your thing yet?
No, I can't
Okay,
remember.
well, when you remember, you can interrupt me.
Okay,
Instead, we're gonna start with.
Maybe it'll jog my memory. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna actually suggest that was maybe the questions will jog. We'll either hit it or jog your memory.
Yeah.
We're gonna start with Johnny Booze. Johnny Booze has a bevy of questions for us.
Oh, boy.
First, Brandon, where's R5 and is he safe?
Is
he all right?
All right. That's a good question. That would have been a fun post-credit scene. If,
Oh my gosh, you're right.
like there's something going on with him and
Everyone
the mouse
left
droids.
him. He's just stranded somewhere in Mandalore.
Well, he flew out.
He did.
Yeah.
fly out.
Yeah, but like maybe he's just like I don't know, rolling across like the surface of Mandalore, and there's like a whole bunch of mouse droids with their little like police like lights like just following him.
So a fun little anecdote. I've been reading, or I just finished the Thrawn trilogy, and when they Han and Mara Jade and Luke Skywalker and 3PO and R2 and Lando all go to Wayland,
Yeah.
which is where Mount Tantus is.
Wayland Yutani, yeah.
They go to where Mount Tantus from Bad Batch is, and they land like several days away from Mount Tantus and walk so that like the Imperial sensors or whatever don't see them. And one of the things that they constantly run into is R2 getting caught in the foliage and the roots because R2 doesn't have a jetpack in old post ROTJ Legends because it's before Attack of the Clones.
And Zahn didn't think
And
about
no one
giving
thought
him-
like, oh yeah, well R2 of course
Yeah. That's why George is a genius.
has a jetpack. So it's like every time that would happen, I'd go, this isn't a problem. Like this isn't like R2 could just.
It's interesting that Timothy Zahn was writing and was like, I want to deal with this as it is. And I'm not gonna invent a solution.
No, yeah, he doesn't invent a solution. He does invent.
Kind of reminds me of my own self of just like I'm just gonna stew in
Hey.
the own problem I've made myself.
It never
doesn't-
happens on Endor.
He doesn't. Well, then they bring up like this wasn't a problem on Endor, and Luke's like, yeah, we only were like they only had to go like half a day's journey on Endor. We've been walking for 8 days.
That's incredible. They're like,
Like they bring it up, like
That's funny.
they totally broach the subject too.
wait. So I was gonna say maybe Din dropped off R5 at the base at the Republic base.
R5 also might just be with him, or
He might
like
be.
He
with
drops
the
off and he goes,
Mandalorians.
"Go back to your people."
I
you
wanted to.
spy."
I had meant to on. Like I said, I didn't get a second watch.
Well, actually,
on.
it's Pelly's droid.
No,
'Cause that's where she got it from
what
Pelly.
Does he? I think I think the implication is he buys the droid.
I guess that's right. I think you're right.
Yeah.
that's right.
Is R5 not there at the end? Can we not like look really closely and see him?
So I did want to go back and look at the N1
homestead
and see
scene?
if we could
Yeah.
see
Mhm.
well, or when he's flying the N1, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's not like a real close in shot like we've seen before. All right. John Booth's next question. How does the battle to retake Mandalore compare to the liberation of Navarro from the pirates? Fucking knocks it out of the park.
Yes.
Yeah.
Comparatively.
I mean,
Like that's a good, cool, fun fight. Like this fucking blows it out of the water.
not to mention like the stakes were way higher.
I just think the depiction of Mandalorian action is better.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, totally. I'm looking.
I agree.
Yeah, the
Yoda. From
way
Revenge
better
of the Sith.
action. It was way more dynamic. I mean, the Navarro battle was pretty fun. Don't get me wrong. I think there's a lot of good
We never
flight
did.
choreography between Bo and Din. And that was
We never
cool.
did find out why Moff Gideon sent those pirates to Navarro.
Because the Imperial Remnant does not want the New Republic to know just how quote unquote organized or built up that they are at this point. So Gideon's using the pirates to basically
Because they were trying. Well, I think is your question like why they wanted Navarro in particular?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's cloning tubes on Navarro.
Yeah.
That they left there.
Cloning
There
tubes.
was. Remember in season 2 we had the episode where, Grief and Kara and Din go down into the Imperial base and find cloning tubes. So they're trying to get all of that research.
Okay.
I think we're gonna answer some of these on Monday.
Okay.
Because some of them are like where this is going as a whole and all that.
Yes.
So, John, your third question we'll answer on Monday. JX Editor asks, do you think that the droid at the end, namely IG-11, should have been named something else, like IG-13?
No, because I think they repair his memory, right?
Yeah,
So
I think that's the point.
He's like the same droid as before.
I think that the point is specifically IG-11 has kind of learned to be nice.
Yeah.
The Queel reprogramming.
Yeah. I'm cool with it just being IG-11, and I like the fact that it is IG-11 because there's significance with that model to Navarro in terms of saving the town before and now it's protecting the town now. So I don't think why would you go to IG-13? It's just like the head. Not because the other, I guess the chassis of original IG-11 was destroyed on Mandalore by the Praetorian Guards.
Yeah, but I'm sure they grabbed it and brought it back. Like I'm sure it's fine.
Okay,
because it survived lava.
that is true.
Right?
I mean, there was
I think
some
he was
parts
all-
that were missing when you saw that it's a statue.
I think
but,
they repaired the memory, so it technically is the same droid as before.
Yeah.
So,
I guess, yeah.
It's the droid of Theseus.
yeah.
Right. This one, although it's not necessarily directly related to Mando, it is a quick, easy one, so I'm going to ask it. Do you think they'll wait? Do you think they'll reveal Thrawn's face in a trailer or wait for the show? I think they'll shoot in a trailer, especially because we have that weird leaked Elon Musk Thrawn picture. Like, I think they'll give us a better picture of Thrawn in order to be like, hey, guys, it looks better than this,
So there is that remix trailer that they showed at Celebration with Thrawn's face.
Yeah.
It's possible that they could release that before Ahsoka comes out.
Or another trailer with that footage.
Right. If they don't use that footage before the show premieres, then you'll still they'll promote Thrawn one way or the other, whether it's they'll definitely promote Thrawn, especially after he officially appears in the show, no matter what. But before that, they might not.
Sure.
I think they might not. I think they're going to try and just use the back of his head.
Yeah, I think it's a coin toss.
Yeah.
But
I would lean more towards the back of the head for all it leading up to Ahsoka. I think they'll probably leave that as a reveal for the general audience, the 99% of the audience that wasn't there at Celebration, even though you could bootleg it off the internet if you wanted to.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Darth Kitty asks, how many knees were injured in the filming of this episode?
Dang. How many ACLs, MCLs did we bust?
Look, I think they're fine, man. They got Beskar. They good.
I don't know, man. I mean, like, what does like the propulsion of rockets from your knees do to your knees? Does it
I don't know,
compress
man.
your joints? I don't know. So
We'll
I'm going to say they
we'll
lost.
need Brandon to give us the science
Yeah.
breakdown of knee
Well, I mean,
hurts.
in the filming of the episode, so it's not real Beskar, like we're talking about the
Sure.
actors here.
Okay.
What?
Yeah. It was probably just like plastic or something.
Probably Cinta.
To be honest. So
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. Depends. I mean, these were probably all stunt actors, and they probably already have bad knees. So
Yeah.
probably wasn't a fun day on set for them. So
Dang.
hopefully they were treated well.
This is a question about the map readout. Was Grogu's dot green because he's still seen as the asset, or because the IG droid is still identified as Imperial? Well, I don't think the IG droid is ever identified as Imperial.
No.
But
I definitely thought about because they had information him as the asset.
yeah, that's probably why.
That's how I was like, oh, that would make sense.
It's the only logical answer. I think he's green because he's green. like I think that's what they like. I think that's all the thought they put into it, right? Like he's green because he's green.
Also, just like, why not? Let's make him green.
Yeah.
I'm sure Jet Lucas was like, let's make him green. You know?
And then the last question from Darth Kitty: is the Mythosaur Force sensitive? I think Grogu was telling him to keep his auntie's bow and the armor safe.
Oh, that's nice.
So in canon, it does seem that in canon, it is implied that most animals can be communicated with via the Force. I don't think animals need to be Force sensitive to be communicated with. Like we see the animal empathy or animal communion, like in every Star Wars show to some way, shape, or form. So no.
Yeah, I don't think the Mythosaur is Force sensitive. I just think Grogu was like, "Yo, what's up, Mythosaur? I see you down there." Even though the rest of us can't see you, but I sense you down there.
And I think it would be antithetical to Mandalorian theming, right? Like the
the
Jedi are the ancestral enemy of the Mandalore,
Right.
and their symbol is a big Force sensitive animal. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be.
It's a lot like Dr. Doolittle, you know? It's
Yeah.
like he could talk to animals, and it's not because the animals have the power, it's because he has the power.
Man, you really need to watch Rebels, right? Like you really need to watch Rebels.
Dude, I've seen both.
You're gonna love
I've
the
seen
Loth Wolves. Yeah.
both
You've seen-
Dr. Doolittle movies.
Oh,
Wow.
okay.
Okay.
Look at you.
Think I know a thing or two.
You know cinema. Damn.
Friend of the show, Janine Devine.
Hey.
Do you think there's some significance behind the destruction of the dark saber?
I think
Dot
we,
dot dot.
I think we talked about that, I
Oh,
believe.
there's more. There's more to that.
okay.
Was it reduced to just a MacGuffin plot convenience, or does it symbolize the coming together of Mandalorians being bigger and more significant than who's wielding it? Yeah, I think that's. I think that's ultimately it.
Yeah, I would agree.
Because it's. I mean, it also, like, in all honesty, like even from Bo's standpoint, like that's the weapon that beheaded her sister,
Damn, yeah.
right? Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to go.
Yeah.
I never really thought about it like that, but yeah, you are right.
Right? Also,
Yeah.
whatever makes a black kyber crystal, probably not great.
Probably right.
Right? We know that you have to bleed and torture a kyber crystal to get it red. What do you got to do to make it black?
Dang.
Probably not good.
Is it not because of like the Beskar or something?
It may be. You may be
Yeah.
right. That's my other thought.
Yeah. I don't know. But how do you get it in that shape? Who knows? And
And
that cool noise it makes. I can't even
Yeah.
recreate
No,
it.
that was pretty good. That's pretty good.
So Thomas
Thomas.
asks, has Gideon maybe survived? His whole body was covered in Mandalorian steel, not just some parts. Look, I don't care how much steel you're covered in. Fire is fire.
You know, it all depends on the thermal conductivity of the of the Beskar alloy.
Well, here's my let me give you my proof in the pudding, my context clues. When Din burns the super commandos that are also wearing Mandalorian armor, they die just fine, right? So I think that we're more likely, if anything, to see a clone of Gideon. I also think it's way cooler to have that.
You're telling me that Beskar can stop a lightsaber, but not fire?
Yeah, Kevlar can stop a bullet, but not fire.
Dang, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
But I don't know. But both are plasma, though.
Right, but the issue isn't the fire. Like the lightsaber isn't going to burn you and suffocate you. The fire is going to burn you and suffocate you.
Yeah, I feel like if I held a lightsaber on the Din's armor long enough, it would cook him.
Yes, we've seen that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens in season 2 at some point, I think.
So here's what I think. To your point about the super commandos getting burned, they weren't completely covered
No.
in the way that Gideon was.
Yeah, and I thought
Gideon is not completely. His joints are not.
I thought they did a really good job of showing that in the combat, where like the Mandalorians were very skilled to shoot in between the armor.
Yeah. So Super Commando's not completely covered in the way that Gideon was. Sure, there's always gonna be, little places that aren't covered, whatever. Also, I guess, could he be dead? Yeah, I think it'd be fitting because, like, look, Bo-Katan, Din, and Grogu, had an axe to grind with Gideon. So I like that all three got their licks in on Gideon and were the reason for his ultimate demise. I think thematically that makes a lot of sense.
And we've dealt with Gideon enough.
And for some people, they've dealt with Gideon enough.
You're not
wrong.
And that's where I want a clone. Like that's where I want a clone to come back because it doesn't lessen what happened.
Okay,
and you're upping the stakes by it's a force sensitive clone
would be
that is slightly deranged because you can't properly clone force sensitives.
Kind of like a Joris.
Like a Joris Sabaoth, right?
But selfishly, I hope that he survived because I really want to see an interaction, face-to-face interaction between Gideon and Thrawn. I just want to see that dynamic. I just want to see Lars Mikkelsen and Giancarlo Esposito.
We still might, depending on where the Ahsoka series takes place.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right?
Yeah, because what if this is taking place?
As far as we're aware, the Ahsoka series does not take place after this.
That's a fair point. So yeah, you're right. We still could. And if that was the case, cool. Then Gideon's dead.
I think that. Well, and also I just think it'd be cool because as of right now, we don't have your clones don't have all your memories, but that's not to say there's not possibility that technology also exists. It just hasn't been explored in canon. Mm-hmm. To which I say, I just think
like a la Avatar, which you haven't seen, I guess. So you want to?
I think you could still have that same interaction between Thrawn and Gideon with a clone.
You could, but I wouldn't. I mean, it's a clone.
But if they've got the imprint and whatever,
guess,
right?
Yeah, I could. Then
there's no difference except that he's a little crazier, and he's got force powers now.
Man, I would love to see Giancarlo Esposito go even crazier.
Especially because if his whole point is it's the one thing I didn't have.
Yeah.
And now he's got it. Well, guess what? Now he's fucking megalomania times 2.
Yeah, it's kind of it's kind of feed into Avatar: Way of the Water with what's his? You saw Avatar: Way of Water, right?
No,
and I know you haven't.
I certainly haven't. I think that when they have Ong and Zuko and Appa,
I think that's the other
in Avatar, and the Water Kingdom.
What's another question? Is that it?
No, you know what? That's it. That's our last question.
That was a good one. That was a good one because, like I said,
there was another response, but it wasn't a question. So I just thought there was one more question, but there's not. Anyways, guys, hey, look, this was a blast. If you like this episode, if you want to see more from us, you can tune in every Thursday. We're gonna have one of these episodes. You know what? Sometimes they're on Mondays. Who knows? Just subscribe to the channel, hit that bell because
we never asked about the bell. Hit the bell for notifications.
What I'm here for notifications.
You don't want to miss a thing.
Exactly. Just like my favorite Green Day song, "Give Me Notifications." Listen, subscribe, hit the like, hit the bell, leave a comment. When you're done with that, go to the podcast feed. Subscribe to the podcast feed. When you're done with that, we have a Twitter, an Instagram, and a TikTok. All of those things.
A lot of homework you gave them.
I know.
A lot of homework.
I know.
But I believe in them. I think
you know what? But
don't use Chat GPT either to do your homework.
Oh, you know what? Use Chat. Actually, you know what I want from you guys? I want you to go to Chat GPT
and review for
have Chat GPT generate a comment for you to post in the comments section.
That's incredible.
Or a review to put on your favorite podcasting app. Or you can tweet at us a Chat GPT response at Scoundrels
#ChatGPT
Scoundrels. What's our Twitter?
Scoundrels _Inc.
Scoundrels Inc.
Yeah, Scoundrels Inc.
No underscore.
No
I think
underscore.
there's an underscore, bro.
There isn't
On Twitter?
on Twitter.
I think there
on
is.
any of the handles.
Or you know what? You can email
I
us.
don't
You
know
might be
about that
right.
one. I think there is an underscore on Twitter.
You know what? Hey, who
think you're
cares?
right. Yeah.
It's down in the description.
It's in the description. Yeah,
Well,
follow the
you
link.
know what? You tell us in the
You'll
comments.
find it.
Yeah.
Scoundrel. Scoundrel. I like the sound of that.